Hi LCMSD families, this is your superintendent Brett Geithman. For all of you that have been reading the newsletters, potentially coming to our board meetings, our board budget study sessions, parent meetings, you have probably noticed that we are making reductions for the 23-24 school year. These were very difficult decisions to make. They do come at the goal of course correcting our ongoing deficit budget, which I'm happy to say over time we have now addressed this and are in much greater fiscal health moving forward as a district. The result of that, though, is an impact to programs and offerings we have in LCMSD. So our job today is to share with you very briefly what those changes to those services and programs look like for your students going into the 23-24 school year. If we take a look at COVID Neil Cummins, on the left-hand side, you see what the current program is. On the right-hand side, you see what next year's program is. What we've done is we've identified the changes in bold so you can easily see those. So if we just go across right here, art stays the same for next year. Music is going to stay the same. Physical education, library, counseling and wellness, those all stay the same. English learner support services, those also stay the same. The differences come with math intervention and reading intervention. So our math intervention is currently at a 40% teacher at each site. Next year, it will be at approximately a 35% teacher at each site. So a slight reduction in math intervention services. When we take a look at our reading intervention, we have currently 1.5 teachers at each site. That's going to be reduced to 1 teacher at each site. So the reduction with our reading intervention is going back to our pre-pandemic intervention teacher allocation. This year, we were able to double down on our intervention with COVID one-time funding. Again, that's one-time funding, so we do have to make that reduction and go back to our pre-pandemic level, which is 1 teacher at each site. So those are the changes that you will see and students will experience at COVID Neil Cummins for next school year. When we take a look at Hall Middle School, this is where you're going to see more of the changes. So again, changes are in bold. On the right-hand side, this is what next year's program looks like. So currently, our core classes meet for 224 minutes per week. Core classes, we're taking a look at English, history, math, science, and physical education. So now if you look at next year, those core classes are actually going to meet for longer. They're going to meet for 257 minutes per week. The other change here is that we're just talking about physical education for 7th and 8th grade. It's going to look a little bit different for 6th grade. This year, students are choosing 2 electives, and that's a program that many of you might be familiar with. This is what we're talking about when we're making the reduction from the 7-period day to a 6-period day. The reduction occurs on that elective side. So right now, students are choosing 2 electives. You can see what those elective options are. If you're a Hall Middle School parent, you're probably very familiar with those. And depending on the services a student with disabilities has, or an English learner, they might only have 1 elective. It depends on when those services are delivered. So next year, the difference is 6th grade students are going to have the option to choose their 1 elective of either choir or band. So there's one of their electives. The other elective is actually going to come in form of an elective wheel. So there's going to be an elective wheel with PE infused into that. So physical education at 6th grade actually requires less minutes. So we're still able to accomplish 2 electives with our 6th graders by infusing the PE into the wheel and accomplishing it that way. 7th and 8th grade, a little bit different. The PE minute requirements are longer for 7th and 8th grade students. So they will have PE as a standalone class as they've had this year. So 7th and 8th grade students will have the opportunity to choose 1 elective for next school year. That could be band, Spanish, the wheel. We're looking at leadership, idea, and then another class to be determined to be a part of that wheel. Again, depending on services, some students with disabilities and some students who are English learners might not have that elective depending on when their services are delivered. In terms of counseling and wellness, that stays the same for next year. We have a full-time counselor who also pushes into classrooms for instruction as well. Another change that we have is in terms of our English learner support. This year we have a 40% teacher. Next year we'll have a 20% teacher. that is based on the number of students needing this additional English learner support. So that's why that reduction is made in that specific category. Our final reduction for Hall Middle School is taking a look at math intervention. Currently, we have 20% math intervention. Next year, we're going to look at possibilities after school or other creative solutions. So that will not be a formal class like we have this year. It's going to be a reduction on this end. So we'll also share the slide deck as well, so you can compare notes back and forth between this year and next year. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brown, principal at Hall Middle School, to explain the Hall Middle School schedule even further.
Thank you, Dr. Geithman. As you can tell, with our period reduction from a 7-period day to a 6-period day, we've generated a new bell schedule in collaboration with our staff at Hall Middle School. You're going to see for next year that we have a static first period. This accommodates us with special staffing circumstances or staffing that may only require 1 period at our campus, and facilitates a really nice opening to our school day with a consistent community across our learners. You'll notice that the rest of the day does continue to rotate. Students will have 2 classes recess, 2 classes a lunch break, 2 classes to finish the day. As Dr. Geithman mentioned, this Wednesday shortened day that releases at 1:45 offers us an additional academic instruction period for our students in their core classes as well as their elective class. So this is going to be our bell schedule for 23-24, so you can start making arrangements as we move forward. Just to make sure we're on the same page in terms of what our course offerings will be for each grade level, I'm going to go through each one to make sure that we're all on the same page. Each 6th grade student will have an English language arts class, a math class, science, and social studies. They will have physical education blended with the wheel, where students will meet their PE required minutes as well as engage in a wheel elective the other part of the week. With our elective choice still existing in 6th grade, our rising Cougars will have the opportunity to choose between band and choir for their 6th grade year. For our 7th grade population, they will be taking English language arts, Math 7 or pre-algebra based on placement, science, social studies, as well as PE. Their elective choices for the 23-24 school year will be to engage with band, Spanish, Math 8 in order to concurrently enroll in both math classes and place into algebra as an 8th grader, or there will be a wheel elective as Dr. Geithman described. For our 8th grade population, again, English language arts, Math 8 or algebra depending on placement, science, social studies, PE, and an elective choice. The difference here with 8th graders, it remains that they may engage with Spanish, band, a teacher's assistant for the year-long course, or the wheel elective as well, where they would rotate through 3 different rotations over the course of the year. We're really interested in making sure that you and your students have conversations regarding their passions and their interests. It's part of our Cougar Code here at Hall Middle School, where we pursue our passions. I am encouraging students to try something new while they're in middle school to prepare them for the big world of high school that's looming ahead of them, and really supporting them in terms of thinking about what are you good at, what are you passionate about, what could be something that could continue to create those connections and demonstrate that strength for you as a student, as a learner, not only here at Hall Middle School, but moving on into high school as well. That's what LCMSD will look like in the 23-24 school year. We're excited to answer any of your questions, and we look forward to another great year in Larkspur, Corte Madera.